Most people, when they think about trading, they think of it as a game. But the hedge funds, the ones that actually survive for decades, they treat it as a serious business. Now, this explainer isn't really for total beginners. It's for those of you who are serious about making it in the long run. We're not going to talk about secret indicators or magic entry points. We're diving deep into the mindset, the risk management, and the decision making that keeps the pros in the game, year after year. Let's break down how they do it.
So, this is it. This is the first and most important question you have to answer for yourself. Is trading a slot machine you pull for a quick thrill? Or is it a serious business you're trying to build? How you answer this one question, well, it changes absolutely everything that comes after. All right, let's be super direct here. If you're consistently losing money, chasing after the next big strategy is a complete dead end. The problem isn't the system you're using. The real problem is the thinking behind it. That's the core issue, and that's what we need to fix. So here's our game plan. We're going to break this down into 5 key parts. We'll start with the huge difference in mindset. Then we'll cover the absolute #1 rule, preserving your capital. From there, you'll see why position sizing is king and why you should focus on your process, not just your strategy. And finally, we'll put it all together so you can start thinking like a fund manager. Okay, let's start at the very foundation. We're talking about the massive psychological gap between how a regular retail trader and a professional hedge fund look at the exact same market. It really all boils down to the very first question you ask yourself before you place a trade. The retail trader's mind immediately jumps to the prize. How much money can I make on this? But the professional, their mind is obsessed with something else entirely. What is my absolute worst case scenario here? You see, they're not trying to predict the future. They're just trying to manage the downside. And man, this quote just hits the nail on the head. Trying to be a market genius, predicting every move, it feels good, right? It's a great ego boost when you're right, but it's a terrible, terrible business model. A professional knows that boring old risk management is what actually protects your account and keeps you in business. It's your ego versus your survival. This leads to a really profound level of emotional detachment. Professionals just accept that even the most perfect A-plus setup can fail. So a single loss isn't some personal failure. It's not a reason to get angry and revenge trade. Nope. It's just a piece of data, an expected cost of doing business when you're making hundreds and hundreds of trades. And this way of thinking flows directly into their #1 non-negotiable rule of operation: protect your capital at all costs. So this is really the key. For a hedge fund, the main goal isn't profit, it's just survival. They understand a simple truth that a lot of traders learn way too late. If you protect your capital, you can always trade again tomorrow. But if that capital is gone, the game is over, period. So how do they make sure they survive? Through cold, hard discipline. They don't just risk more because a trade feels like a sure thing. Every single trade they take is governed by a strict, predetermined, fixed percentage of their capital. It completely removes emotion and guesswork from the equation. And that number, it can be incredibly small. A pretty standard risk model for an institution might be to risk just 1/4% on a single idea. Think about that for a second. That means they could have a string of 10 losses in a row, and their account would barely even feel it. That, my friends, is what professional defense looks like. This brings us to what might be the single most important and yet the most overlooked concept in all of trading. Forget about fancy entries. Position sizing is everything. To put it simply, it's how much you're betting on any given trade. And I'm telling you, you can have the best strategy in the world, but if your position sizing is wrong, you will blow up your account. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. This is the one variable that truly determines your survival. And right here, this is the great divide. The amateur trader is endlessly searching for that perfect, magical entry point. The professional, on the other hand, spends all their time obsessing over getting the position size exactly right, making absolutely sure that even if they're wrong, the damage is completely controlled. So, if it's not about finding the perfect strategy, then what is it about? Well, it's about building and then constantly refining a rock-solid process. When a retail trader hits a losing streak, what's their first instinct? To throw their strategy in the trash and go find a new one. A hedge fund does the exact opposite. They trust their strategy, but they examine their process for any flaws. Was their execution sloppy? Were they overriding their own rules? They fix the system, they don't just throw it away. So what does a process even look like? It's basically a simple checklist. Number 1, are all my rules for entry, exit, and risk defined ahead of time? Number 2, what's the market environment doing right now? And is my strategy actually a good fit for it? And number three, how much of my total capital am I okay with exposing to the market today? It's methodical, not impulsive. And this is the real magic of having a process. When you have a clear, non-negotiable set of rules for every single thing you do, there's just no room for fear or greed to take the wheel. You're no longer making emotional decisions. You're just executing your plan. Okay, let's wrap this all up. We're going to boil everything we've talked about down into a simple, actionable framework that you can start using right away. Now look, you probably don't have the same capital or resources as a multi-billion-dollar fund. And that's okay. It doesn't matter because their most powerful tool isn't their money, it's their mindset. And that is 100% accessible to you right now. So here's your checklist. 1. Use a fixed risk percentage on every single trade. Stick to it religiously. 2. Keep your position sizes small enough that any single loss is basically insignificant. 3. Learn to be patient. Wait for your setup. Don't trade just because you're bored. 4. Build discipline by creating your own set of rules and actually following them. And 5, and this is a big one, start looking at losses not as failures, but just as the cost of doing business. And this is the ultimate takeaway. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Stop chasing profits, focus all of your energy on risk management and survival. If you can master the art of just staying in the game, the profitable opportunities will eventually come to you. Survival is the strategy. So I'll leave you with the same question we started with, but maybe with a new perspective. After seeing the difference, are you going to keep treating trading like a game of chance? Or are you going to make the choice to start running it like a professional business? The decision is yours.